Hey y'all, good morning. This is old Jesse. I'm going to read Proverbs chapter 1 and kind of discuss it a little bit. I studied Proverbs and Ecclesiastes as a young man. I spent years going over that. My thoughts in my teenage years were, well, if I want to be taught, I want to be taught by the wisest persons in the world. And there's not that many wise persons in the world today like there used to be in times past. And well, if I was smart, I would pick the ones that are alive and pick the writings of the ones that are dead. And I was like, all right, the Bible says Solomon was the wisest man. I'm going to read through that a bunch. And I'm going to read through what Jesus commanded us, and that's what I'm going to try to do with my life, because that's the smartest thing to do. And with that came the thought that, hey, Yahweh, our God, is still alive. I can learn from him. I can ask him to be my teacher. And it might be much harder to communicate and to learn from a deity. But if I learn the true way to the path of eternity, then I know that he will talk to me. And then there's also Jesus is still alive too, That's the Messiah that gave all these commands in the New Testament and stuff, and that the Apostle explained for. And with that thought was also the Spirit's still active. Well, maybe I can get Spirit intercession to learn. So, but my starting point with that was Proverbs and Ecclesiastes, because it's no good to start without a good basis for what wisdom and intelligence is, and I'm not going to say that as a person that has studied this my whole life, I have been able to implement it. Okay? I've had mental problems, I've had marital problems, I've had religious problems. And, I'm a human being too, sometimes, I get lazy and don't want to do something, or I just want to have fun, and what's right and wrong doesn't seem to matter at that point in time. And that's human chaos. That's the lust of the flesh. That's human chaos. That's sin nature, and so as advice to anybody of any age, study from those that are wiser than you, and truly wiser than you, not just get out there and they're a talking head. Study from folks that are truly wiser than you. Pick teachers for yourself that just aren't wrong. and it will change you. It's not wrong to be wise and poor. Because time and chance happen to all men. You're not responsible for the chances in your life. Okay? And you're not responsible for turning back time and trying to redo things right when something's messed up. But just keep in mind that human beings we need good teachers, and if we don't choose good ones for ourselves, then what we learn from society is very likely to be destructive. So I'm going to start, and I'm going to read the first 5 verses. And then we'll talk about that. And the first 5 verses are, to some extent, just an introduction to Proverbs. And, I kind of feel like Yahweh, he has moved me to do these verses this morning. So I will do the first 5 verses because he asked me to. The Proverbs of Solomon, the son of David, king of Israel. Okay, now in Hebrew, Solomon is often pronounced Shlomo, and David is David, and Israel is Israel. Not very different, is it? But just keep in mind that the names that we read in English are not always the way Hebrew sounds. To know wisdom and instruction, to perceive words of understanding, to receive the instruction of wisdom, justice, and judgment, and equity, to give subtlety to the simple, to the young man, knowledge and discretion. A wise man will hear and will increase learning, and a man of understanding shall attain unto wise counsels. Okay, that sounds like a poem that you would hear that like or like a fancy introductory speech in one of these political things. It's like it's so full of content that and meaning that you don't really perceive it the first time around. Okay, so we know to know wisdom. Okay, all right. So you get to know what wisdom is, and what that means is like wisdom is usually a thing that's found in folks that are very thoughtful, but this provides the endpoint of that thought. That's the actual wisdom. You don't have to collect all the knowledge and test it and think about it and work out the depths of the meanings. It's given to you face value with a little bit of effort and a little bit of understanding. And it's wisdom and instruction. Okay? It gives you okay, here's what you do to make life better. You know, it's instruction for wisdom. Do this, don't do that. It's not complicated. Okay? To perceive words of understanding. And so these proverbs are small, I won't say sentences or one-liners. Well, they kind of are. Some of them are one-liners. Some of them aren't. And they're for your learning, and it's like well, and there's a lot of content in there, and there's a little bit of test of your understanding and your own intelligence as you read, you know. So to receive the instruction of wisdom, justice, judgment, and equity. All right. We know what receiving instruction of wisdom is. We just talked about it, you know. Justice is basically implementing what's right and wrong. And in implementing good, wholesome laws. Wholesome laws implemented right is justice. Okay? And judgment is the action of doing that. How to actively do that. And equity means how do you treat other human beings equally? Or it can mean what's the value of a thing? You know? To give subtlety to the simple. What's subtlety? Subtlety is like in this case, it's not always, subtlety is the action of using your mind to think deeply about a subject matter and respond with small actions that are very wise and graceful. Okay? Now, we also hear this word as applied to the snake in the Garden of Eden. But that's a bad type of subtlety. Okay? So, could the Proverbs be misused? Yes, they can be misused. If you know what the Proverbs are and you do exactly the opposite, you can create absolute chaos. It's terrible. But I would suggest that the intention was for that subtlety to be in a good way. To give subtlety to the simple, to the young man, knowledge and discretion. So, one of the things that that maybe we pass over, or we think about, maybe young folks don't think about this. I know I did when I was a kid, and I know that other folks that were religious that were my age chose to. But there's some kids that think about these things deeper than others, and some human beings that think deeper than others. So to the young man, knowledge and discretion. Well, I mean, is this applicable to women too? Sure, a lot of it is, but you know, it is a writing of a man to another man as advice. So, I mean, that's what Proverbs and Ecclesiastes are. You know, can women learn from it? Yes. Are they going to learn all about how to be a wise woman from it? No. There are things that women need to be able to teach each other that men, because we're different, can't. So, but the biggest thing is that I thought about is, like, when you're young, you have to realize that you don't have knowledge and discretion. And you have to think about that, and you have to say, okay, well, like, it's not a very nice thought, but I'm kind of dumb. And I don't make the wisest choices. I need some help, and I need to learn how to get smarter. You know? And that's what Proverbs is about helping with. It's about getting smarter and getting more capable of making good choices. And not just in the religious sense, in the business and social sense is also. You know, it's all about doing good for yourself, and also worshiping Yahweh at the same time. A wise man will hear and will increase learning, and a man of understanding shall attain unto wise counsel. So, I mean, that's pretty obvious. You know, one thing I will say is oftentimes, and I'm not sure what Hebrew word is here in this passage, but in Hebrew, hear and obey tends to be bound in the same word as, like, you know, listen and do, you know. So the wisdom is not just in the hearing, but in the doing, in the implementation also. So this may be, you know, maybe the English isn't right there, and I could probably look into that a little bit more, but it's good for others to follow along and look things up, you know, as we go to make sure of things, because you know. But so that's a thought, and we'll increase learning. Okay, so it's not just hear and do, but we'll increase learning. So like one of the precepts that's taught in Proverbs is buy the truth and sell it not, right? Go obtain knowledge. So this whole set of Proverbs is about like teaching a person to seek knowledge and to seek good things for themselves, and wisdom and understanding, and all these very nice qualities and stuff like that. And a man of understanding shall attain unto wise counsels. A man of understanding shall attain unto wise counsels. So, if you're already ahead of the game, you're already a little bit smarter, you can understand the way the world is on your own. Like you can figure out for yourself because of your upbringing or whatever. Okay, a certain area is a bad area to be in. Like that's bad, or certain actions are bad. Like don't drink too much, otherwise you'll destroy yourself and become an alcoholic. That's bad. That's understanding. Okay, so if a person has a lot of those understandings and is world-wise, or is business-wise, or religious-wise, or whatever, when you attain wise counsels, that means you've gotten wisdom from a place that is not of your own self, and you'll be able to examine it in short order and know that that's a good way to guide your life. I would say. So that's something to think about, And I as a person, I really like the study of Proverbs and Ecclesiastes. A lot of these things I've tested in my life. I would suggest, just because you want to be smart and wise like Solomon, don't do what he did. Don't test these things. Just implement them in your life. And because the testing of it, there's a passage that talks about these things as dark sayings. Well, if you test these things, it's almost like it invites darkness in your life to find out if the wisdom is true or not. So I would suggest don't do that. Just read the Proverbs and do them, and get the good and reject the bad, and don't follow Solomon's example in his life. Heck, don't even follow my example in my life, except for searching for eternity, right? Because I've got mental problems, I've got social problems, I've got family problems, I've got religious problems. The only thing that I've done in my life that I think is even worthwhile is I studied religion deeply, and I've collected a set of thoughts that I think are the Christianity that's actually written in the Bible, and I think that's wholesome to teach that. But it's a thing that's like, all right, well, we do what we do, and if a person tests one or two things, okay, well, just don't test everything, because some things aren't worth it. Like, you don't want to get drunk and sleep with a whore or whatever, and then get a child and her tear your life apart. That's just not smart. You don't want to get involved with a bad group of people that rob and thieve from everybody, and have them stab you in the back. That's just not wise. Like there are things in here that shouldn't be tested. You don't want to go run off and like Solomon chose to, and have 300 women and test like a bunch of different pagan religions out to see what the right religion is. That's not worth doing. there's already a book about that right here in Proverbs and in Ecclesiastes, that you don't need to back up and try to retest stuff. Like, take somebody else's life experience and the all the potent wisdom that you can gain from it, and learn from somebody else's experiences instead of your own mistakes. And that goes for children, my children. I would love it if my children saw this video and decided this was a good study for them. And it goes for the most ancient and crotchety of human beings that are looking death in the eyes, and they just, I don't know what to say. It's like, it's a thing that's like, be careful when you test wise sayings. Wise sayings are for your good. So, don't do stupid things to see what's going to happen. If you know something's stupid, don't do it. That sounds funny. But whatever. And I'll say this, okay? I grew up in a very small religious community called the Christadelphians. And one thing I learned young about that community is there's a lot of schisms in that community. It wasn't fun. And so I decided, I'm going to travel for a living and try to escape that. If there's a bad problem somewhere, I'll just leave and go somewhere else. Well, it worked for a while until the wife got tired of moving around, and then everything kind of just blew up. It was bad. So as a person, I realized that, like, there are some things that we individually are not capable of changing with the world and with our social circumstances. Like, we are not responsible for all the bad actions everybody else does. And sometimes the only way to escape a bad situation is to leave and go somewhere else and don't talk to anybody. But we're humans. We are social creatures, and it's nearly impossible to do that. So, and then you've got things where, like, we live in the information age and the entertainment age. And, like, entertainment, that's fun. Like, look at social media and all the books available to read, all the video games, all of the things that you can go do in the town that you're in. And one thing about fun stuff is it's a wonderful distraction. It makes you happy during the time that you're doing it. But if it's not for your learning or for your benefit, it's a complete waste of time. And so we live in this society where, like, we waste a lot of time. And so be thoughtful of that when you study Proverbs and Ecclesiastes, because one of the things it's going to tell you is to be productive, to do things with your time, to safeguard the things that you do so they don't rot and fall apart. I know I've spoken in other videos that, I bought a piece of property and I tested the whole organic gardening method and a lot of these no-till methods and stuff like that of gardening and stuff, and it didn't work out. Part of it is because of the soil on the land that I live in, and a difference in climate, and the other part of it is the YouTube gardening stuff is kind of fake sometimes. Sometimes they go buy a bunch of big box store plants and put them in a little garden bed, and they're like, oh, look at this, and it's nice, and it's pretty, and blah, 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 blah. And they talk a lot about gardening, but they're not really doing it. and they give you a lot of ideas about how to do stuff, but it's not really like that, and it's not for lack of effort, like, I will say this, monoculture gardening, like where you've got a patch of this and a patch of that, or a row of this and a row of that, and you use fertilizer and a little bit of bug spray, and you keep it watered, and you till when you need to or whatever. It works. There's a reason why people do it. So there's some things that I've tested out that weren't like, oh, this is a sin or not a sin. I just tested out because I tested it out. And, well, that would be the other downfall of searching after wisdom and understanding. I'm not saying don't search after wisdom and understanding. I'm saying glean from everybody else that has before you do your own. And I thought I was, right? I thought I was getting that knowledge and understanding and all that fun stuff. But one of the things that you'll find with, especially like the gardening stuff and growing crops on YouTube, is that what's not said is how many people they have doing the labor behind the scenes. You see one guy on the video, or maybe one guy and a helper or two, and you're like, yeah, they're not always there. No, those helpers are there, and they're probably working 90 hours, and he's probably working 90 hours a week. And they put a lot of backbreaking labor into their shows. So that's the other thing, is like some of the things that are presented is just like the end product, and the actual amount of work put into it is phenomenal. That was the other thing that I found. So when in your search for wisdom and understanding and truth and judgment and justice and equity and good things in your life, don't forget that what you see on TV is a production show. Okay? That's something that Solomon and Proverbs couldn't tell everybody because it didn't exist at that time. Don't believe the production that you see on TV. Other than that, yeah. Get out there. You don't need to be a scientist. You don't need to be Mr. Tester all your life or Mrs. Tester all your life. Take the value from the Proverbs and Ecclesiastes and use it, and don't deviate from it, because let me tell you, when you stop doing the things in Proverbs, life can go bad really fast, like within seconds, minutes, days, and the effects are long lasting. There's been a few things over time that I've given up on, temporarily or permanently, because my lifestyle is just different, and I regret it deeply. So when you learn something in Proverbs, stick with it. Keep it as part of your life. And value the knowledge, the wisdom, the discretion, the subtlety, the intelligence, the value that it's given you, and never let go. Because there will be times when you're tired, emotionally, physically, intellectually, and you just want to lay down and give up, or lay down and die, and that's not, that you can't do that. Don't ever give up, especially when you have something that valuable. So just consider what I'm saying, and listen to what I'm saying, and yeah, let's talk about it. If you've got any thoughts about this, I know it's just the introduction verses to Proverbs. Yeah, leave me a comment if you agree or disagree or whatever. I like comments. Um, uh, and give me the old thumbs up and subscribe. I like subscribers. So, and I really enjoy talking philosophy and wisdom. So y'all have a good one. All right. Bye.